Hello, welcome back. So today I'm going to be recreating this beautiful eye look on Jenna Ortega by makeup artist Melanie Iglesias. So this is part of a series where I am breaking down celebrity makeup artists' techniques. So I have videos on the base, brows, and lips, which you can probably see because I'm already wearing them. And now we're going to be doing the eyes. Those other videos will either pop up sporadically throughout the video. They will probably also be linked down below in the description box. So let's talk a little bit about Melanie's technique when it comes to eyes. So Melanie Iglesias has a very particular style, especially on Jenna. It is incredibly like soft, romantic, but gothic, kind of like mysterious, dark, okay? She focuses on more muted tones on the face, not overly bronzed. Her bronzer is not like too much. She's not looking like a Victoria's Secret angel up in here, okay? The face is sculpted, the blush is minimal, the lips are structured. They're typically these kind of like cooler tones, burgundies, berries, that kind of thing. The eyes are usually pretty smoky. Like she loves a smoky eye. They're usually like deeper tones, usually like neutral to cool tones. She likes to use a strong winged liner. She'll use liquid liner for that to really define the eye. Colors on the eyes are usually like black, burgundy, pewter, gray. And sometimes sometimes she blends a softer liner or shadow for a smudged effect rather than the sharp liner. Sometimes she sort of like mixes the two of them. One of my favorite things about her looks are that she focuses pretty heavily on spiky lashes, even on her softer looks, like this look on Julia Gardner. Her lashes are still like pretty spiky, which I appreciate. Like you can see that her lips are a little bit softer. She's got visible blush, like she's a little bit more, peachy blushed, but her lashes are spiky. So there's some edge there, even when she goes for something a little bit more like light, when it's like a slightly lighter look. Okay, so I'm going to start off by prepping my eyes with my base. I've been mixing just like kind of equal parts Kosas concealer in 0.5 neutral and my NARS eyeshadow base because it's a little bit more like clear. And I do have veins, like visible veins that I kind of want to get rid of. However, for this kind of a look, honestly, you don't really need to do that. Like, I think that the veins popping through will kind of look sick because we are focusing on more like gothic, not grungy, but just like darker. It doesn't necessarily need to be so perfect. For instance, the skin very much celebrates, things like freckles popping through, natural finishes. So it's kind of like this nice balance of flawless structure with also like slightly more organic elements, if that makes sense. Dude, I didn't clean my brushes this week, which I usually do, and I'm running out of stuff to use here. I'm gonna use this Angela Bright brush. This is her crease brush from her collection with Sigma, so I'm just mixing the concealer and eyeshadow base together. And this is really great because it creates like kind of a sheer, like a very, very sheer coverage. And I really love the NARS eyeshadow base. I need something with a little bit of coverage. So this technique has really been serving me well. But use whatever eyeshadow base works for you. So I'm just pressing this into the skin until I feel like the tackiness is kind of going away. And if you feel like when you use an eyeshadow base, you have a difficult time blending on the outer perimeter, like you want that tack on the lid so it really grips, and you want some tack to hold on to that powder. But sometimes if it's like a little too tacky, you can have a difficult time blending your powders over it. So in that case, you can just set like out here with a little bit of a translucent powder. You don't need to use a lot. Actually, I might do that. Just a really light dusting out here. Okay, so I am going to be using my Robert Welsh Divination palette for this look. Now, this look is blue, obviously, but it's not so blue. It's not this like cool toned, really blue. It's sort of like a slightly more like teal blue. So I think these shades will be really good for it. However, these are pretty bright, so I'm going to be using these grays to mix into it. So I don't have necessarily like the perfect colors. I'm not sure what she used on her, but we're gonna create it. So just remember to get creative, and like you can mix your powders if you don't have exactly what you need. So I am going to start off with my Rephr 14 brush, and I'm going to tap back and forth between this blue right here, this light blue, and this light gray color. Now I'm starting off by blending this on the back of my hand, just to make sure I have like the right tone. I think that looks pretty good. This is going to be my transition shade, so I'm just going to place this right in my crease. And then just diffuse it as we get in a little bit further. And this isn't like a ridiculously smoky eye. There's smoke, but it's not like so blown out. When you are mixing powders, the one thing you want to be careful of is that you don't accidentally reverse, because I mixed more gray in this one and more blue in this one. So I'm just going in with a little more gray over here to balance it out. I'll go in with a little more blue over here to balance it out. I'm just going to take a clean brush. This is the Rephr 01 brush. And just buff around those edges. Now I'm going to grab those two colors again. Once again, mixing back and forth. And I'm going to focus that on the outer corner of the lid. Just blending slowly in, making sure it's connected to the crease so that I don't have a big gap in here. Again, keeping things nice and soft. For the lower lash line, I'm going to dip into just the gray shade. So this is the shade Smoke. Okay, so it's this one right here. And I'm just gonna run this. Are you not focused? Thank you. I'm just gonna run this along my lash line. I'm not gonna take it in too far. I'm just gonna take it like here, basically. Connecting it up. And then just gently diffusing down a little bit. And her lower lash line is nice and smoky, but it's not too heavy. Okay, so just diffusing it down, keeping it relatively soft. Now that, especially because of my hair and my skin tone, that gray actually looks relatively blue, which is nice. Okay, I'm gonna pick up a little bit more of that gray on that same brush, and I'm going to use this to just kind of sculpt out the top V a little bit. Just focusing it on the outer area, just to kind of like enhance that eye socket a little bit. And then I'm just gonna wipe my brush off. I'm gonna take whatever's left over and just kind of like run it through. I just wanna make sure that all of this is kind of blended, because her inner, like this area, is a bit shaded. And then using that same brush, I'm going to pick up Love Line from the palette, which is this like light shimmery blue. And I'm picking that up and I'm buffing that into my hand to make sure that it doesn't go all over the place, and also to just kind of like soften it, because hers looks a little bit more like a satiny like sheen and not so much foiled. So I'm going to place this on the lid in the center, and then blend it into the inner part of the lid, and then just diffuse it, whatever's left over, into that matte, but I don't want to cover up that matte. So it is lighter than the rest of the eye, Does have a little bit of shimmer to it. Just don't want it to be as intense. I'm going to grab the Hung Van Gogh New Neutral palette, which is the slightly more like neutral of the browns in his collection. And I'm gonna pick up this shade right here, which is number 1. And I'm gonna use that to kind of ground this a little bit. So there are areas of her eyes where it looks a little bit sculpted with like kind of a contour color. If you want to keep it a little bit more vibrant and blue, then like stick with this. But if you do want to like get it as close to this as possible, then that's gonna be a good option. I'm gonna start off on the lower lash line. I'm just gonna wipe off my O2 brush. And these are, especially with this brush, these are pretty pigmented shadows. So once again, I'm just buffing it into the back of my hand. And looking up, I'm just gonna buff this into that gray and then drag it down a little bit. Now when I say grounding, what I mean is like, typically, especially when you have like a more colorful eye look, it's gonna look like it's on top of your skin, right? Like, because blue is not something that we see on our skin ever, hopefully. So by using something that's like a little bit more brown toned, you're sort of like creating the illusion that it's slightly more natural looking. I hope that makes sense. Does that make any sense? So do you see how it just sort of like melts it into the skin a little bit more? Because you have that like contour mixing with a little bit of that blue. Does that make sense? It neutralizes it ever so slightly so that it doesn't look quite as saturated. This is actually something that you can do first before colors, like bright colors, especially like on the upper part of the eye, like sculpting it out with this kind of a color. Or you can do it afterwards, which is what I'm doing now. Okay. So nice and smoky. Now I'm gonna go in with that first brush, the 14 brush that we used, with that same color. Once again, I'm picking it up, I'm patting it, blending it into the back of my hand. See? Because ideally, honestly, I wish I had like a slightly lighter color, but I don't. And then I'm going to just run this through that, like gently through that crease into this little area right here. So I'm just doing some slight contouring. It's gonna be so gentle. You're barely gonna be able to tell, but it's gonna make a huge difference, especially in here. Can you see that difference? Isn't that crazy? It's so slight. Like when you're looking at it, like just this eye, you don't even really notice it. But if you compare it to this side, it makes a massive difference. We used the tiniest amount of product, but it really just like, it makes the eyes look, it makes the eye color look like part of your skin. It's great. Just make sure that whatever neutral you choose is actually neutral and closer to whatever the undertone of like the color is, you know? Because like if I used a really, really orangey brown, it's not gonna have the same effect because it's gonna actually make that orange, that blue pop more. I'm just gonna grab my little 23 brush. It's got a little, I think it's got concealer on it, so I'm just gonna clean it off. And once again, from the Hung Van Gogh New Neutral palette, I'm gonna grab this shade right here, which is number 5. Okay, and I'm just gonna use this to define further that lower lash line. It might be an actual liner that Melanie used, but Hung actually developed these shades to be used as liner as well. So they have kind of this like creamy finish. So I'm gonna focus this right at the lash line on the outer corner of the eye and then just diffuse it inward. And I'm just going to gently bring this up a little bit to the upper lash line. can build that up as much as you want. I'm just gonna go in with a teeny bit more. I would say follow the contrast of the darkest thing on your face. So like your hair, you use your hair as a guide. I have lipstick all over my teeth. You guys, I have lipstick all over my teeth. Nobody said anything. What the fuck? Have I been smiling? Jesus. Next time that happens, can somebody say something, please? Oh, use the contrast of like the darkest thing on your face or whatever to make it look like it works with you. Okay, I like that. All right, so now for the upper lash line, we're gonna be going in with a liquid liner. Like maybe there's a tiny, you know what? Actually, I'm gonna grab that same brush and that same color and I'm just gonna put that on the lash line first because it kind of look like, I can't really tell. It's really hard to tell. Sometimes she mixes shadows and liners, and liquids, I mean, for liner to make it look a little more lived in, which personally would be my preference. So I'm just taking this on the 23 brush and I'm just gonna kind of like sketch a little bit where that wing is gonna go and just fill in that lash line. So you won't even really see this, but it might just help soften the look ever so slightly so that the liner doesn't look like so harsh. But it depends on your, again, it depends on your preference because she does both. And I'm not worrying about making this like super clean. Okay, now for the liquid eyeliner, I'm going to use probably Hen Dash. It's my favorite liquid liner. So it comes out pretty straight. So do what works for your eye shape. Again, like if you're someone who has rounder eyes and you're trying to recreate this, bring it down a little bit low, like follow your lower lash line. You know, obviously if almond eyes, then you want it to be like a little bit more sharp and lifted. If you have hooded eyes, then you can do your little like bat wing trick, taking it straight out from the eye. I'm gonna try to recreate hers so it looks like it starts sort of like here, but it does come pretty straight out, so it's ever so slightly higher than the actual end of her eye. And it's not too long. Oh, that one might have gotten a little long. And then I'm just going to draw this back. And then just blending it into that eyeshadow. I don't think those are even at all, but luckily we have Half Magic micellar water liner fixer upper. Yeah, God, it's so good. And all you have to do is like barely touch it. Perfect. Now I just, because of my eye shape, it looks a little bit weird, like the way that these connected. So I'm just gonna grab that shadow, that dark brown shadow again, and just go over this area where the shadow meets the liner to sort of diffuse them together. Okay, she has a silvery color in her inner corner. I'm gonna go back to the divination palette. I don't know, is it just that blue? I can't, it's hard to tell if it's just that blue or if it's a different color. That feels like too much, but maybe it's okay. I'm gonna use crystal right here. on an 03 brush that's dirty that I'm wiping off. And I'm gonna just focus this around that tear duct. So it's not like, it is like all around here. You know? This also looks like it's relatively satiny, so if you're really, really, really trying to get this perfect, then you don't want to use such shimmery shadows. You want to use something a little more, what are they called? Satin, like a satin shadow. But like a shimmer is fine, shimmer's fine. Or your luminizer, like if you have a luminizer for your face. That would be really good too. I thought about doing that, but then I didn't. Nice. Okay, lipstick, we're good. So, spiky lashes. Super excited about this part. What I like is that from at least the looks on Jenna, I feel like I don't see fake lashes very often. It depends on the makeup look, I think. Like maybe she uses some like enhancements here and there. I'm sure she uses them on other makeup people. Makeup people? What? Yeah, like Julia Gardner's it doesn't look like she has any falsies either. I think Anna does. Unless her lashes are just that fabulous, which is possible. So for this look in particular on Jenna, I don't think she's got any false lashes on. So the way that I'm going to do this, first I'm going to curl my lashes, obviously, with my rougher lash curler. So I'm going to curl my lashes. And I want them to be up. They don't need to be like so curled. I just want them to be up. And then I'm going to go in with a light coat of my Clio Kill Lash Super Proof Mascara, waterproof mascara that will hold my lashes up. So that they don't fall down. It's so hard to tell if she even has mascara on her lower lashes. It kind of looks like she doesn't, to be honest with you. Like, I think they're just left totally naked. See some other looks. Oh yeah, she has some on other looks. She definitely has mascara on the bottom on other looks. But this one just doesn't really look like it. I'm gonna do the lightest coat of, just with that mascara, the lightest coat focusing on just the area like where that shadow, where we use that shadow as a liner. Just so there's something there, you know, so that they don't look crazy. But like in this look, you really don't see it. Okay, and then once my waterproof mascara is set, I'm gonna go in with the Buxom Lash Extension Lift Mascara. This is great for spiky lashes, but I went in with the waterproof mascara so that my lashes would actually stay up, so that they would hold, because if I use this on its own, it's just gonna fall down. Look at that. Ooh, great for spiky lashes. So I'm gonna use this to build up that spiky effect. Not on my hair, though. You can see I'm kind of just like pressing it against the lashes and then like wiggling it. Poke it through. Super spiky. All right, guys, this is the finished look. Do we love it? Are you obsessed? I love it. I think we nailed it. All right, guys, thank you so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed. Please let me know if you recreate this look. I'm obsessed with it. I love it so much. I feel like we absolutely nailed it. Please let me know if you enjoy these series and if there are what makeup artist you would like to see next, or if there are any other specific looks from Melanie that you want me to break down that you've been dying to see. Maybe it's just an eye look, maybe it's just a lip look. Happy to do that. But yeah, I definitely want your suggestions in terms of like next makeup artists to deep dive into. Like and subscribe, blah, 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 blah. I don't care. I don't care. It doesn't matter. If you want to do it, you're going to do it. You know what I mean?